Right, this video is going to be my final video on the Honda CB650R, and it's going to be basically what is it like living with a Honda CB650R, the 2021 model. So I've had this bike about a week now, just over a week. I've put 320 miles on the bike. I've basically ridden it every single day, to and from work, out and about, so I've really got to grips with this bike. Now the reviews that a lot of people have done on this bike already have all been, what is it like in the first impressions. I'm going to show you now in this video what it is like as a daily rider. Now the first thing I'm going to talk about with this bike is, in a city environment, this bike is absolutely amazing. So I'm currently in Portsmouth, and I know that there is a lot of traffic on this route. Now the reason I say this bike is amazing in a city environment is the fact that it is so agile and so nimble that its filtering capabilities are out of this world. They're amazing. You can filter through pretty much any sort of traffic, just like I'm about to show you. Now we've got a chap up here. As I was saying, this bike is really good to filter. As you can see, I'm having absolutely no problems whatsoever. So yeah, filtering is no problem on this bike. The only issue I've got is that the wind mirrors, they are quite high, and it does make it a little bit hairy as you go past, that you're going to clip a wind mirror. So if this was my bike, personally what I would do is I would get the wind mirrors changed. I'd get some lower set wind mirrors, because these are just at the wrong level that will cause you to not be able to filter. But as you can see, I have really managed to save myself a lot of time by getting through traffic. And this bike has plenty of power to get you out of trouble. So for a city bike, it is really good. If you're going to be doing a lot of commuting where you know you've got a lot of traffic and you're going to have to battle your way in and out of places, the CB650R is perfect. The riding position is nice and comfortable, so you're not going to struggle too much when we're trying to ride around on this bike. Aches and pains, headaches, backache, let's talk about that for 5 minutes. The suspension setup out of the box on this bike is horrendous. I have never felt a bike hurt so much. It's horrible. Now the reason I say that is, as you're riding around, every single bump in the road is amplified, and it really does hurt. There is no denying it. But that is just a minor issue that will obviously get adjusted if it is your bike and you're not going to have any problems. So it is just a minor issue that is easily fixable. This bike does have a tiny amount of boot storage, which I'll show you in a bit. Now I've mentioned in the other video that the actual like the wind resistance on this bike is horrible. You're constantly fighting to stay upright on the bike, and to stay on the bike for that matter. But around town, staying under 40 miles an hour, there is absolutely no problem with this bike whatsoever. So again, that's where I think this bike is going to come into its own. It is a perfect city bike, and as far as I'm aware, the CB in Honda CB650 stands for city bike. So they've got the name absolutely perfect for what this bike is perfect for. Now I did mention in one of my other videos that I wouldn't buy this bike. That was in my very first video, part 1. Go check it out, the actual ride review. Now I said that because, go check the video out. However, having owned it for this amount of time, if I could get the suspension set up to be a lot more comfortable, and I had the money, I would probably buy the bike. The suspension would have to be changed. It would have to be softened because it's a painful ride. But I would consider buying one if the money wasn't a problem. I know there's going to be a lot of other bikes out there that are probably a lot better, but for just over £7,000 I don't think it's a bad price if you're going to use this bike around town. I mean, like now I'm driving over bumpy roads and it's vile on the suspension. If you're not going to be doing a lot of motorway rides, no real long distance, it's all low speed style riding, or the odd trip out every now and again to your local cafe, I think it's going to be a good bike for that. Every now and again running around at 60-70 miles an hour isn't going to hurt, but for constant everyday use of that speed, I'd say it's a big no-no. Get a bike with a bit of wind protection. But the handling of it is really good. It handles phenomenally. Now I have had the traction control come on at one point, and the rear wheel did try to high side me. Now I don't know why it done that. I think, try to think back to the location that it was quite close to an actual HGV depot where they bring a lot of shingle and gravel out, so I may have hit a bit of debris on the road, which just caused the rear tyre a little bit of an issue. But the bike saved it. The bike sorted me out and I didn't have any problems. So the traction control does work really well. Again, a big gripe is trying to flash your headlights. The traction control button is right where the pass light personal preference should be. So that is something that I think Honda should have addressed. The horn as well. I have had to use a horn a couple of times, and the really frustrating thing about that is I couldn't find it. The horn is just there. Now when I have actually come to not use the horn and use the indicators, I've beeped the horn. And when I've actually wanted the horn, I keep hitting the indicators. So it's a bit frustrating on that side of things. But I think overall I am going to have to give this bike a big thumbs up. I've changed, my opinion has changed on it. The longer I've owned it, the more I've slightly become accustomed to it. It's just the suspension, it just needs to be softened up. Once that's sorted, there is going to be no issues with it whatsoever. So quick fire positives about this bike. It looks amazing, it sounds brilliant, it's got loads of usable power, which is another good thing, because when you actually use that power, you haven't got to wring its neck, but it's enjoyable using the power. I love the filtering aspect of this bike. It is such a good bike for filtering. Another good aspect of the bike, it's relatively cheap. Like I said, just over £7,000. It is light to move about. I think it's about 202 kilograms. I may have to put the correct weight up of that in a second, but I'm pretty sure it's 202. And when you do manually handle the bike, it is very easy to move about. So for a plus 200 kilogram bike, it is really user friendly. The seat is quite comfortable. I've not had any issues riding with this bike. I've not got to the point where I'm like desperate to get off, so that's always a good thing when you've got a bike with a nice comfy seat. It's quite a firm seat, but it is a comfy seat. Now let's have a little chat about the negatives. Suspension's hard, there is no wind protection, but it is a naked bike, so that's to be expected. The indicators and the horn are personally a little bit too close together. It looks slightly like a 125 version, although it has got a 180 rear tyre. The actual size of it doesn't look like a big bike. So Honda could, in my own opinion, have actually bumped up the beefiness of this bike, which would have made it look a little bit more like a bigger bike. But that's only being vain, I guess. And other than that, I really can't think of any other like major negatives about this bike. It's obviously got not a lot of places you can put luggage, but it's not that type of bike. If you want a bike like that, you're going to go and have to get a touring bike, a sports touring bike, something that is set up for that. But as a commuter bike, where you're not going to have to go on the motorways, go on big dual carriageways, it's a perfect bike for that. And it has got plenty of grunt low down and high up, but you're still having to open the throttle up a little bit, which makes it a really fun ride. You have got great visibility when you ride this bike to be able to see quite far ahead. Another good positive about this bike, the display is really clear. Now I have put a full tank of fuel in this bike, and it cost me just under 15 Great British pounds, just under, and that was pretty much from empty. So I think that pretty much sums up my final thoughts on the Honda CB650R, the Honda City Bike 650R Racer. It is a good bike. Get your suspension sorted out and you're absolutely laughing. Also, like I said, get your wind mirrors sorted. Get some shorter wind mirrors, be it lower down or on the bar ends, or just something that's not dead in line with car wing mirrors. And this bike really will be a fantastic little machine. So if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, press the bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. Give me a big thumbs up if you like this video. Give me a double thumbs down if you didn't. If you're in and around the Southampton area, pop into Crescent Honda in Southampton, have a chat with the sales guys there, and no doubt they're going to sort you out with a fantastic deal on this bike, and also a cracking little demo ride if that's what you're after. So until next time, I'm going to get a coffee, ride safe, and I'll see you soon.